All right, gotta love a good deep dive, right? And today we're taking a deep dive into something that feels kind of like, I don't know, a little sneaky, maybe? We're breaking down this podcast script with a really bold title. It's called Psychology Tricks to Sell Anything to Anyone.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, the second I saw that title, my skeptical alarms, they were blaring. Like, is this for real? But, on some level, these tricks, if they are tricks, they must work, right?
Right.
So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break them down, figure out what makes them tick, the psychology behind them, and maybe even learn how to spot them in the wild. Be prepared.
You know what I find so interesting about this topic is that so often these tactics, they work on us without us even realizing it. Like we don't even know we're being influenced by some marketing ploy or a sales pitch.
Yeah.
But when you actually understand the psychology that's driving these tactics, then you can become a much more conscious consumer, make better decisions.
Okay, so you're saying like we're getting a backstage pass to
Yeah.
like the art of persuasion.
Exactly.
I like it. All right, so first up on our list, we've got the principle of reciprocity. And I gotta say, this one gets me every time. Those free samples at the grocery store,
Oh, yeah.
I'm powerless. I walk out with a bag of whatever I just tried.
It's true, though. It's more than just free stuff. It's about this, deep human need we have for fairness, for balance in our interactions. So if someone does something nice for us, even if it's small, it triggers this feeling of, oh, I need to give something back.
Oh, 100%. You know what? Just last week, and this is so true, I signed up for like a free trial online, and I guarantee you they knew that I would be way more likely to actually become a paying customer after I had that little taste, that little free taste.
Exactly. That's reciprocity in action. It's like
Hmm.
you offer something of value up front, even if it's small. It could even be a gesture. And it just creates that sense of almost like you're indebted to them in a way. And that makes you much more likely to reciprocate.
See, and they know this. It's crazy. Okay, so if reciprocity is all about that give and take, then what about this whole idea of social proof? I feel like everybody's talking about this now, especially in the age of, social media.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, throughout all of human history, going along with the crowd has usually meant survival, right?
Right.
So we are hardwired to look to other people to figure out how to behave, what to believe, even down to what to buy. And it's so deep in us, it goes back to our evolutionary past.
So what you're saying is when we're looking at a product online and it has like thousands of five-star reviews, our brains just go, everybody else loves it, so it must be good.
Exactly. And it's not even just online reviews. Think about when a product suddenly blows up and everyone's talking about it. Oftentimes, that's a very calculated social proof campaign because they
Yeah.
know that if they can get enough people talking about it, then everybody else is going to want it too because it's like, well, what am I missing out on?
That is so true. That fear of missing out, it's real. And speaking of feeling the pressure, let's talk about scarcity. This one, oh man, I see it. I know what they're doing, but it still works. It's like those banners that say limited time offer or like those ads that pop up and they're like only two left in stock.
Oh,
My
yeah.
heart starts racing.
Oh, I know. It's that fear of missing out, but it's like in overdrive.
Yeah.
Because it's that idea that something might become unavailable and it just makes us want to act fast before we miss out. And this is such an effective tactic because it plays on that very primal desire to get those resources.
It's so funny though, because sometimes I know what they're doing, but I'm still like, oh, I better get it now. I remember one time I was online and it said only like two pairs left in your size. And I was like, well, I guess I need these shoes, but I didn't need them.
It's powerful, but the thing is, in order for this scarcity thing to work, it actually has to be authentic. Like, if a brand is constantly doing these limited time offers or they're always saying things are selling out, it loses its power.
Right. You can't just cry wolf all the time.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've covered reciprocity, we've got social proof and scarcity. Now let's jump into something that always makes my head spin a little bit. It's the decoy effect. So break this down for me. How does this one work?
Okay, so imagine you're at the movies,
Yeah.
right? And you're looking at the popcorn. So you've got your small popcorn for $5, and then you've got your large for 10.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people might just go with the small, perfectly happy. But what happens if they introduce a medium for $9?
Oh, interesting.
Now, all of a sudden, that large popcorn for just $1 more,
Yeah.
it seems like a steal.
Right.
And that's the decoy effect.
Okay, so it's not even about the medium popcorn. It's about making that large one look better.
Exactly.
Oh, sneaky.
It's because our brains, they love to compare things.
This
And so this decoy option, it comes in and it sort of manipulates that comparison process. And all of a sudden that target option, that large popcorn, seems like it's a way better deal.
Our brains are like little con artists sometimes, the way they trick us.
That's
I don't know if I can trust myself to make a decision anymore.
Oh, no. No, it's not about tricking ourselves. It's about, understanding the forces that are at play that shape the way we see things.
So when we're talking about this decoy effect, like, how does this play out in real life? It's not like we're always at the movie theater trying to decide on popcorn.
Oh, absolutely not. Think about this. You're shopping for a new phone.
Okay.
You're online, and you see there's a budget model, maybe it's $300, and then there's a high-end one for $600.
Okay.
You're leaning towards that budget option, but then you see a third phone. It's got similar features to the high-end one, but it's $550.
Oh, I see where you're going.
All of a sudden, that $600 one doesn't seem so bad.
It's like they're playing mind games. Okay, so we've got this decoy effect messing with our sense of value, but then on top of that, you've got this whole anchoring and framing thing. And based on those two words alone, I feel like I'm about to get, like, tied down and boxed in.
In a sense, yeah. It's true. Anchoring is all about that first impression, that power of the first impression.
Yeah.
So the initial price that you see or the first piece of information you get, that becomes the anchor. And it influences every decision you make after that.
Wait, so you're telling me that, like, the first number I see, that sets the standard for everything else?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's powerful. You know how when you're in salary negotiations,
Yeah.
research has actually shown that if you're the first one to throw out a number, if you mention your desired salary range first, that can actually anchor the negotiation in your favor. Because then the other person, they're much more likely to counter with an offer that's closer to what you initially said.
Okay, that is good to know. I am never going into a salary negotiation unprepared again. So it's not just about, like, shopping then. So this anchoring thing, it affects, like, other areas of our lives too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Think about, like, if you're setting expectations for a project, right? If you go in and the initial timeline that you give is really ambitious, even if it gets adjusted later, people are going to put in a lot more effort up front.
Because they're anchored to that.
Exactly.
And it's like our brains just grab onto that first thing and they're like, okay, this is what we're working with.
That's it.
This is wild. Okay, and speaking of framing, I feel like this next principle kind of operates in the shadows a little bit. Emotional appeal. We all know those ads that are just like trying to make you cry. But what's the psychology going on there?
I mean, it's brilliant, right? It's all about tapping into those desires, the aspirations that drive us.
Yeah.
And we like to think of ourselves as, very logical. But at the end of the day, emotions, they play such a huge role in our decisions. So think about brands, right? They align themselves with social causes or products that are marketed as like symbols of success or belonging. They're not just selling you a product, they're selling you a feeling.
Totally. And I'm so susceptible to that. Like, if I'm going to buy a cup of coffee and I know that, like, part of it is going to support a cause, I'm like, take my money, even if it's a little bit more expensive. It's like they're speaking to, like, my soul. They're like, we get you. We're on the same page. And I'm just like, yes, you do get me.
And we're all vulnerable to that, right?
Yeah.
We all have those things. And that's why, I think back to what we were talking about before. That's why understanding these techniques, these persuasive techniques, it's so important.
Yeah.
It's not about being completely immune to them because that's impossible.
Right.
Right? We can't walk around like blocking it all out. But it's about recognizing it.
Right. Being aware.
Yes, recognizing it for what it is.
So instead of feeling like we're being tricked or manipulated, we can kind of step back and go, okay, I see what's happening here.
You become like a more critical thinker. You're not just blindly following these, marketing ploys or whatever.
Taking your power back.
Exactly.
I like it.
Understanding the principles of persuasion, I think it makes you a savvier consumer. It can even make you a more effective communicator yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Because you start to see these things at play in all these different areas of life.
Yeah, it's like we're unlocking like a secret code to the way the world works a little bit.
That's a great way to put it.
I have to say, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive. I'm feeling a little more aware already, I think, of these tactics. Both, when they're being used on me, but also I'm like, ooh, could I use this for good,
Well, and that's the thing, right? We all have that power. So it really does come back to, like, how do we want to use it? What feels right?
Where do we draw the line, right?
Exactly right.
Between, like, ethical persuasion and, manipulation.
Yeah. And that's a question for everyone to ask themselves.
Hmm.
As you go about your day to day and you start to pick up on these little things, ask yourself, is this being used ethically?
Hmm.
Is this for good? Or is someone trying to pull one over on me?
Hmm.
And I think that's a really good place for everybody to leave it today.
Yeah, do your research, pay attention, be aware. I like it.
Well, on that note, this has been another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.